So, to kick off this incredible event, I want to welcome back to SRDS, a familiar face to many of you. ErinRose Carr is currently a rising junior at Syracuse University, where she is double majoring in Entrepreneurship and Emerging Enterprises and Marketing Management. While at SRDS, Erin was heavily involved on campus in numerous facets, ranging from the president of the Community Service Club, to costumes, hair, and makeup for our theater productions, to captain of the volleyball team and the track and field teams, and she has continued to do the same at Syracuse University, blending her passion for sports and her constant energy to help her become highly involved in her school. This summer, she's working as a tournament coordination intern for the Illinois Junior Golf Association and the Mid-American Junior Golf Tour. So please give Erin a warm welcome.
When I was in kindergarten, I was called mean because I wanted to set up the blocks a certain way, even though the boys normally did it. When I was in middle school, I was called difficult because I wanted to play the role of the lead pirate, even though it was a role that was meant for a boy. Later on, I was called bossy when I was the captain of the high school track and field team, when I would run practices a certain way, even though when my male co-captain would do the same thing, no one would say a thing. Were they correct in saying I was bossy? Yeah, because I am bossy. But the tone was different. The tone was different than if they called my male co-captain bossy. But my favorite of all of these nicknames or adjectives was when I gained the nickname Butch. When I was in high school and even now, I've always been pretty athletic looking, pretty aggressive, outgoing, and outspoken. I have a deep voice. Dude and bro are staples of my daily vocabulary. So when I was in high school, Butch was written across all of the backs of my athletic shirts. It was what I was referred to by my coach. It was what I was referred to by other coaches. And a lot of people thought this was really derogatory. A lot of people thought this was offensive and rude and undermining my gender. But for me, it was something that never bothered me at all. It was something that, rather than being offended by it, I chose to embrace it. Whether we've known it since we were children or not, gender roles have been around since we were little. As a child, as a little girl, I was given tiaras and dolls, and little boys were given trucks and blocks to play with. So the question now is, where are gender roles going? They're impressed upon us since we're little kids. They are shown to us by our parents, by our peers, by our teachers. As a little kid, if a little boy were to say he wanted to be a fashion designer, people would give him a funny look. Or if a girl said she wanted to be a firefighter, people would be puzzled and confused. So the interesting thing about where we are now is that we live in a society where misconceptions and stereotypes are so common, which is both an amazing and a horrible thing. It allows us to live by the standards set forth by society, and it allows us to either use those and abide by them, or it allows us to shun them. So where are gender roles moving from now? So ever since high school, I always am asked if I am straight, if I'm gay, if I'm bisexual, and I'm also always have a weird habit of getting hit on by girls. So I started asking a bunch of friends of mine, why do people think I'm gay or bisexual, or why do people not believe me when I say I'm straight? And then they ask me, are you sure you're straight? I checked, I'm pretty sure, thank you. So people, everyone started saying, it's your attitude, it's the way you look, it's your personality. So I started thinking about it. What about my personality makes people think I'm gay? So the way I hold myself. I'm aggressive, I'm outgoing, I'm loud, I have a deep voice, and honestly, I don't care a lot of times. I don't really have the best filter in the world. But then I think about the way I look. I'm short, I'm athletic, I'm muscular. I'm a personal trainer, I like to lift. So I think about it. And obviously there's a difference when you look at the two photos. The one on the left, I look like a little boy. And the amount of times I've been mistaken for a little boy. A lot. So, the interesting correlation with this is we're starting to base gender roles, and we're starting to base people's sexual orientation off of the way they look and the way they act, which isn't a correct correlation to make at all. So the cool thing about that is that we're starting to push away from what society expects of us. We're starting to push away from the traditional expectations of a man and a woman. Women are gaining higher roles in companies. They're no longer abiding by these stereotypes that are set forth. But we're still being stereotyped into these groups because of the way we look and the way we act. So women are starting to work more now than ever. Men are starting to become stay-at-home fathers. But the thing now is that men and women are still given these funny looks. Women in corporate America are looked at kind of funny, and men who are deemed as stay-at-home fathers are seen as peculiar. When our parents were kids, these gender roles were considered taboo. Our parents grew up in a society where the father was expected to go to work, make money, and provide for his family, and the woman was expected to stay at home, watch the kids, and provide, which isn't where we are anymore in our society. Women are starting to work. Men are becoming stay-at-home fathers. But we're still being confined to these weird expectations where when a woman goes, yeah, I'm a CEO of X company, they're like, what? What do you mean? In 2015, 24 of the 500 Fortune 500 companies were CEOs. 24 of these were women. Is that a huge number? 24 out of 500? No, it's not. But if you look where we were 20 years ago, we're making a lot of progress. So the question I want to pose now is gender equality. The thing about gender equality is that women in corporate America are seen as cold, as calculating, and the B word. And men, who are stay-at-home fathers, are sometimes looked at like they have three heads. So the thing I want to pose, gender equality. Am I a feminist? Yes, I am. Am I a man-hater? No, I'm not. Feminism and man-hating are starting to become this really common correlation with each other, which really isn't a true thing at all. In order to be a feminist, it's not putting men down. It's choosing to empower yourself. It's choosing to empower women with the aid of men. Is gender equality ever going to be a real thing? No, it's not. I'll be blatantly honest with you, it's not. Men and women are anatomically different. We have different physical and emotional thresholds and capacities, which is what makes us different and beautiful in our own special ways. So the thing with that is that men and women are now starting to swap the roles that are given to them by society. And we're starting to stray away from the stereotypes that have been pressed upon us. We're starting to move towards a society where men and women are becoming equal. But the only way that men and women, in my opinion, will ever become equal is when men and women can do the same thing in a corporate environment and not receive backlash. When a woman can do the same thing as her male counterpart and not be called cold, calculating, unjust, aggressive, or the B word. The thing about our society is that we have expectations of our children, of our kids, of our families. And these expectations aren't necessarily correct because we're moving in a direction where women don't just have to be stay-at-home moms and men don't just have to go to work. So telling a kid what they can and cannot be when they grow up is like telling me what I should do with my life. I love my mother, but when she decides to tell me you can't do X, Y, and Z, I'm not going to listen to her. So the thing with that is that you can't tell a child they can't be a firefighter. You can't tell a little boy he can't be a fashion designer if that's what he wants to do. That's like telling me who I should be because of the way I look and the way I act, which simply isn't the way it works. So last night I was flying back here from Chicago, and I started thinking about something that my mom used to say to me when I was a little kid. She always used to say, Erin, you can't judge a book by its cover, which I think is a completely true statement. You can't judge a book by its cover. The way we look, the way we act, the way we hold ourselves, that's the cover of our book. That's the summary written on the back, that's the epilogue, the prologue. But the interesting thing is that that's not the definition of what our book is. The way society defines us isn't the definition of what our story is about. So I'm writing my autobiography. You're writing yours, he's writing his, she's writing hers. But it's not what society wants us to write about anymore. It's what we choose to write about. Thank you.